Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Sam World, and today we're going to be looking at the sound of Loopers, specifically his track with Martin Garrix called Game Over. Now for this tutorial, you're going to need the synthesizer by Xfer Records called Serum, which has been used by dozens of people. And if you're looking for the specific looper sound, dubstep sounds, trance, this little synth can do everything. It has a very cold sound. It's going to help you achieve those nasty growls you hear in a lot of music today. And honestly, if you don't have it, what the hell? Where have you been? You can use the same techniques in this video to recreate these sounds in other synths that are very similar to it that utilize wavetable or FM synthesis. But today, this tutorial is going to take place inside of Serum, the Xfer Records synthesizer. Now as always guys, if you want to support the channel and you want to get similar sounds to Loopers, make sure to go to evilsounds.com and check out the Confessions Revolution series, as that's where you're going to be able to find some of these bass lines that you tend to hear in his music. Make sure to check out the demos, and if you like it, make sure to support the channel. But let's get started with this tutorial. Now the first thing we're going to be looking at making, guys, is going to be the Reese sound that he has, or the super saw that he has in his song. It's going to be a standard super saw that many of you guys have used if you've made the genres of big room, and it's fairly easily made by using a saw with 8 voices inside of Serum like this. Alright guys, so the first sound is going to be a super saw as explained with 8 voices. You can go to 16 if you want. For all hell, do it. But 8 voices will give us this sound. Okay, from there we're going to utilize a bandpass filter. We're going to put it more in the high end. Now, mono legato this so we can allow slides, so when we slide between notes. And from there, the bandpass, literally what it's doing, it's just focusing in on one frequency. So if you want a higher bassed one, a lower bass, mid bass, more resonation, automate that, don't be lazy, and you can get really cool kind of things out of it. Now, if we add OTT, this will make it a little bit more. And that's pretty much going to be the sound. You can go and apply experimental filters like a Bandreject, which Loopers loves. You can check out his masterclass. He likes to use the WUB filter, but pretty much we have a Bandreject in Serum that we can use here. And that's going to be the first sound. The next sound we hear is a very dirty bass line. And one of the wavetables we're going to use for this sound is going to be a square wave. Now, the square wave is the wavetable you want to go with whenever you want to get big, juicy bass lines, because the square is going to be one of the most strongest wavetables we have inside of Serum, or inside of any synth, may it be the ARP Odyssey or the Moog Sub 37. You can never go wrong with the square wave. Yes, with the filter open, it sounds very cartoony, but when you close it and you lose it at lower octaves, well, you get a manly sound. Alright guys, now this sound is going to be the bass, and this is where the tutorial kind of doesn't stay that true to the original, because I cannot get it to sound identical. It's going to sound very close, but I think the difference here is going to be in the mixing that happens after the sound itself is made, and as well as the master. Now, I'm going to be teaching you how to make 2 bass lines. The first one is the standard vroom dirty one, and the second one is going to be the knocks that you hear that give the illusion that this bass is actually hitting, while it's actually going to be this kind of nice little tom kind of hit that we're going to be making inside of Serum as well. So again, first thing we're going to be using is a square, which is going to give us that sound. Next thing is to use a low pass filter. Don't cover all of the square, but just a bit. And then we're going to distort it, and that's going to be the key thing here. And each type of distortion will give you a different vibe. And then mono legato that so that we don't have those sliding. Alright, so there, from there, he likes to use the Bandreject, which is going to give it this nice tonality. Now, the problem with using a Bandreject is that if you put it in the wrong space, it's gonna get rid of those mids, those mid-lows that give this bass the heaviness, the heavy weightiness of it. So make sure you don't place right there, because you just get it too thin. But you can place it like to get a nice tonality out of it, and then you can finish this off with a bit more EQ on the high. And it gives such a nice sound to it, as you can see. Now, from there, guys, you know, I would suggest you leave this at 1 voice, because if you put 2, you get a stereo and weak sound. But from here, a lot of people hear the bass and they hear those knocks and they think it's part of the bass. Now, you can emulate that inside this programming by using an envelope 3 with a very fast pitch, putting that on the chorus, and you can hear those knocks. Now, the knocks are actually going to come separate from this programming. In fact, what they do is they probably sample something that sounds like. You can lower the filter as well and then place it there. And you can get those nice knocks, which you're going to use on top of the bass in certain hits like they do. But in order to make the bass, guys, it's going to be that simple. And again, you know, experiment with it, but that's as close as I can get for now with that. Now, let's go on to making the next sound. Now, the next sound we're looking at is the growl, which is a very it's the best way I can explain it with my own mouth, because my mouth isn't metallic, but very easy. In order to make the sound we're going to be utilizing is FM synthesis, which stands for frequency modulation. Best way to put FM, guys, is very simple. We have a wave here, we have this wave, you route this wave into this guy. We're not going to hear this wavetable, but depending on the frequency of this, if it's moving fast, aka higher pitch than this one, it's going to allow this one to move faster. It's pretty much saying, hey, hurry the fuck up. This is going to give you very metallic sounds. It's gonna give you higher harmonics in the sound, and what we're gonna be doing then is applying an LFO, which is gonna move the FM knob for us, and it's gonna give us this sound. Alright, guys, now in order to achieve the growl of Loopers, something very similar to it, what we're gonna do is use a sine wave, and the sine wave is one of the more popular wavetables to use to FM because it's just the fundamental frequency, which just means you have one big mountain, as you can see, and then the rest falls off. This is just aliasing, I believe. From here, we're gonna FM from B, oscillator B here. We're gonna lower the saw. We're going to put an LFO on this guy. So it's going to move the knob for us like so. But we want to do it in a format that's going to give us that sound that he has. We're going to put this up maybe 3 octaves. So we have a pitch ratio of 1 to 3. And you're going to see we start to get the sound. Now you just got to get this right. And as you can see, this will give you different results. So play around with it. And from here, you know, let's do this 3 to 1 here. We're gonna lower the filter of this and also put a LFO on. So now we just get that sound. And now from here, it's just very standard processing, like reverb. Playing around with distortion. Maybe. And we'll try the favorite filter of Loopers, which is the Bandreject. And we get a very similar sound as he has. And again, the cool thing about this is from here, once you have the programming, experiment a bit, like, you know, use different wavetables, and we get different results out of that. You can even lower this down. Maybe get rid of that. Now, the cool thing is we can also add a PWM, which thinns out this sound, which gives it a bit more. Let's go back with that saw. And it, you know, whatever you do to this wavetable, it's going to alter this. That's the important thing. And we can find various ways to change it. Like we can do remaps to it, put a few random here, maybe just for the sake of it, and apply it there. And, you know, just play around with it, have a bit of fun, because at the end of the day, guys, it's all about experimenting. But that's going to be the simple programming for those growls that you hear in his music. Have fun with it, experiment again, and let's continue on to the last thing, which is the vocal lead. And finally, guys, the last sound, and it's the sound everyone wanted, was the vocal chop lead on top of everything. So this is the main sound in the drop. And in order to achieve this sound, you're gonna have to sample a vocal. So, you know, if you have a vocal library, go look through them and find a vocal. And you're gonna import this vocal into Serum. Make sure it's in the key of C, and you can check what key it's in by using the Ableton tuner or just going by your ear if you're a musically trained musician. Sadly, I'm not, so I have to use the tuner. The moment it's in there, we're gonna use a lot of Serum effects to get it to where we want it to sound like, and this is how we're gonna do that. All right, guys, and finally the last sound is the vocal shot, and this one is a bit tricky, and in all honesty, it's gonna have to do more with the vocal sample that you decide to go with. So you're gonna sample a shot from a vocal sample, and I have some already from the packs I've done before for you guys at evilsounds.com. I'm gonna go with the Bounce Revolution pack and use a vocal shot from there. We're gonna one-shot mode it. We're gonna put a bit of pitch track so that we can play notes with it. Level up. And then what we're gonna do here is lower sustain and give a bit of release, which is gonna sound like you're gonna have a tail now to the sample. Now it all depends on the length of the sample, so do pick that is long. As you can see right now, I'm clicking, barely tapping, and it plays the whole sample because of the release, as you can see there. Now from here, maybe a bit of attack would really help. And now mono legato always, so that we get that nice. From here, what we're going to be doing now is applying a bit of detunement like he has in his. Now, in order to apply detunement, we need to use something like a hyper effect, which I believe it's kind of influenced by the Virus TI's hyper. That's how they were able to make hyper saws. And we can increase the unison on this, so we can create like 8 versions of the voice and detune them. And that's how we're going to achieve that. Add a bit of reverb. You can apply distortion as well to kind of get just a bit more body. And a bit of chorus. With the chords, you can mess with the... Nothing too high because you can kind of hear it. It's too apparent like, hey, I'm here. But you can apply feedback higher. Get more of that effect. And there we go. Now, again, it all depends on the vocal sample you have, because if we have a different one for say, lower octave, you know, you get different results. As you can see there. And we can just keep going. You give it a bit of a and you can do a lot, but it's all gonna have to do with that vocal sample that you decide to do. And you know, let's keep going. So again, it's all about do that vocal sample, but these are the effects you're gonna use. You can also, again, experiment, maybe add a Bandreject. You know, mess around with maybe a bit of a comb as well. And just have fun with it, guys. But those are the basics to getting that sound. As you can see, it's not that hard, and a lot of sound design is going to be very experimental, and it's all about just enjoying the journey, making sounds you like, and using them in your music. And with that being said, guys, that is the sound of Loopers. Game over. There's various other sounds in there, little drum samples here and there, which you guys can utilize, but these are going to be the main sounds that you hear in his track, the ones that you guys were requesting for me to make tutorials on. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to hit like, leave a comment down below on future suggestions on what you would like to see the sound of, or a tutorial on something. And if you want to support the channel, again, evilsounds.com is there for you guys for your sound design needs. Make sure to check out the sound banks, and if you find one you like, think of it as a donation towards the channel, and in exchange you get a cool set of sounds to go with that. With that being said, ninjas, you guys take care, and you guys have an amazing day.